Hello, everybody. Welcome to the political arena. I'm here. This is Brian Mistra. I'm here with Lauren Coombe. And Lauren, I know
Hello.
we started talking about this a little bit yesterday. I think we're going to dive into it a little bit deeper today. But
Yeah, I'm so sorry for yesterday's mess up.
oh, it's okay. It really is. I mean, those types of things happen. And appreciate everybody being patient with us yesterday as we tried to work through some of it. And, we everything that we do now is live on this show, even though it's broadcast. And when you go watch it, it might be a recorded version, but you can watch this live. If you're watching it right now, you're watching it live. And that's one of the negatives of when you go live is that, it's you have technical difficulties. CNN will have technical difficulties. I mean, it just happens. So don't worry about it, Lauren. It's all part of it, and hopefully everybody will uh, uh, give us a pass or two on it because I guarantee it's going to happen to me too, and so forth. Well, since we didn't get to really dive into this as much as we wanted to yesterday, we didn't get to some topics yesterday also that I wanted to talk to. Let's go ahead and hit this again. We're going to talk about the Iran war, and I have some profanity, unfortunately, that I'm going to be using from our president and what he's done. But let me just read the first slide here, Lauren, and then you and I are going to bounce it around. Um, so it says, breaking, this is from today. The U.S. will allow Iran to immediately begin selling oil and fuel under the deal to end the war. And this is per the Wall Street Journal. Details include number one, the provision for waivers of sanctioning on oil sales takes effect immediately upon signing the agreement. Number two, this also covers the necessary services, including banking, transportation, and insurance needed to facilitate the sales. Number three, Iran is expected to receive upfront sanction relief under the deal, with further relief tied to Iran's performance. You know,
It could not be worse.
you
Or,
know,
it's so shocking to me, all of it. I read the Wall Street Journal. Did you read the
I did.
article this morning?
I did. Yeah, I saw that, and I actually pulled up a screenshot of what you were talking about here, and but go ahead and describe it a little bit more because we're going to talk about that a little bit more in some detail. What did that strike you as?
There's just so many aspects of it that I just so first, to be clear, it was signed on Sunday, right? I think it
Yeah, well,
was
yeah, digitally signed on Sunday by Vance and Trump, according
so
to
that means these things when it says it'll go into effect once signed, so it's
it's in
been signed,
effect.
right?
That's
So
right.
I'm like, it's like I just again, I was trying to explain yesterday. I think I got cut off the JCPOA. It's been like jammed into my head, and I've tried to be objective. I didn't really live through that, so I was like, okay, these are the problems people had with it, right? It was like the upfront money, the sanctions relief, and because then they would go take that money and fund their proxies or whatever, and they totally did that. So I'm like, we're getting sanctions relief. We're getting $300 billion, up to whatever reconstruction fund. We're getting, the strait is, or the blockade's removed, which of course that was how it was before the strait was open. And so it's just mind boggling to me how is this not so bad? And he's at the G7 or whatever. And that's where you're about to probably pull up his comments.
Hmm.
I'm just like, how could this be worse? I don't get it.
That was the thing. When I'll back up to the JCPOA, and my biggest problem was with it wasn't that it didn't include any discussions about, as you rightly brought up, using proxies,
Or
the
the ballistics
the
missiles
ballistic
program.
missiles program and things like that. It only focused on their nuclear program. And just so everybody knows, in the JCPOA, the United States did give them $1.7 billion in cash. This was not a give, it was based upon suits that they had lost, effectively money that was owed to Iran. And they
Mhm.
also released $50 billion in sanctions relief. And this was through South Korea. It was funneled back through the Qatar, UAE. I think it was the UAE, and where the United States had some control over that $50 billion, but it was a sanction relief type of thing, and they got it all up front. That was my
Mhm.
problem with it, that they got it up
But
front.
the 97% shipped out, though. That's the other thing. It was the
Yeah.
97% of their enriched uranium, which was 20%, I believe. back then, and they kept them at 3.67%. They had to
That's
get rid
right.
of all their advanced centrifuges. They had to allow IAEA inspections. And so
That's right.
I understand the criticisms. Like for you, I mean, I also like trust your word on what you had criticisms of back then. So it's just I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around now. We're not even getting the dust
That's right.
like removed. So I'm like,
Yeah.
what happened?
Yeah, so
I,
you mean you can sit there and complain about Obama quote giving them 1.7 billion and then fifty billion in sanctions relief. No, you cannot do that because they are getting 24 billion up. Well, they're going to get 12 billion
Mhm.
out of 24 billion up front. Okay, that's already happened. And the other 12 billion of that is going to be over the next 60 days, and then
Mhm.
they're given 300 billion dollars to,
International fund.
yeah,
Like
which
who's going to pay
private
for that?
investors, different countries, anybody can invest in it to support them if they want to. Well, holy shit.
Yeah,
How can you
it's
sit there and criticize? And the reporting today is over 100 billion of that has already been released.
I know
And
that's what the Wall Street Journal said. Yeah.
yeah, and the ink is not even dry on this thing yet. So, how is this any type of success story? It is a complete and utter failure. And I'll tell you something else. I didn't pull the slide on it today, but this happened today. Is that Israel is now reporting that the United States will not share any of the MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding, that they've already signed with Iran. They won't share the details of it with Israel, who went to
Because
war
the
with us.
confusing part, the confuse so I read that at first and I was like not really sure how to feel because I was like, well, we haven't even seen it, you know? But then I was like, well, to be fair, they definitely need to know if is Lebanon part of this? There's like this whole thing with the Lebanon stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I can understand. I don't really like us telling Israel what to do. With the 12-day war, I didn't really agree with that. And again, I just want to point out real quick, you were more like hawkish about this at first, right? You were like, or not even just you, a lot of people were more, they were like, we
Mm-hmm.
need to, if we're going to do this, let's do it. Let's definitely, try to take out as much of the threat as we can. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I honestly agree with that. But it's like, if this was going to be how it turned out, I don't think he should have ruled out boots on the ground in the first 2 weeks of the attacks.
Mm-mm.
I mean, it was just all so poorly done. And I was like trying to keep an open mind, but seeing where we're at now, I don't understand the entire strategy. It seems like a complete 180, like I told you today. It's
Yeah.
just so strange.
Yeah.
And
And
yeah,
I
the Israel part is very strange too.
Yeah, why wouldn't you do that? You know, why they're not releasing it to Israel, or why the United States, including Congress, hasn't seen it yet? Because it is so damn bad that they're afraid that Israel will try to blow it up, which they should, and they probably will try to, and that they're scared to death of what Congress is going to say. Actual MOU, water it down, and do some word mending to it, and then that's what they put out to Congress and to the American public, and
But
effectively
then
try to lie about it. And then
are
I
they
mean, who's
working with
who's gonna
Iran?
who's gonna question it? Iran. So their theory would be that, hey, you got to trust us or
Oh,
Iran. And so it just wouldn't surprise me. And this backroom dealing bullshit is just so frustrating. People are dead over it. We are what $100 billion in arms that we've wasted. And what did we do? And to your point, when this happened, I think it was it started February, right? And when
mhm.
this when this when this happened, I was on our program, and I said, and Bill was excited about it. TJ, I think, was relatively, this is what we should do, and I told him, I said, I'm not, and they said, why not? That Iran will never be weaker, and I said, I agree with that, and it's not necessarily that I disagree with what we're doing. I disagree with who's doing it. And holy shit, wasn't that right? I mean, it's just
No,
because he
I think
fucks
yeah.
up everything he touches. I mean, he
I
has
keep
no.
saying I'm like
It just it is it, and this
I'm
is
like,
the.
I have TDS, or whatever, but I'm
Oh,
like,
I
I
do too.
really don't trust the people in charge. Like, I really have a hard time. So I try to keep an open mind. I'm like, I don't want to cloud my judgment. But you know what? We were right. Like, Hegseth doesn't know what the hell he's doing.
No, he
I
doesn't.
don't
No.
trust him. He's firing all the experienced people. And like, look at what happened. So I'm like, I feel vindicated. And, I'm not like oh, I was right. But I'm just like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
and, this impacts the world stage for us for a while. So
and then
frustrating.
I guess some weeks back, I guess it was back in May. Um, we were talking about how's this going to end, and I said we have to see it through. So I told Bill and TJ on this, and let me just explain my thought process, was that Trump has already bought it. He's already bought Iran. At this point, you need to see it completely through to the end, because the worst thing you could do is make a really bad deal with them right now, because you may never get back to this day. And look at what
Yeah.
happened. Here we are 30 days later, and we now have the greatest political and diplomacy failure in the United States in probably 100 years, if not longer. I can't even think of a worse one that we have done. That may be since the creation of this country, it may be the worst one. You're taking one of the worst regimes, one of the worst supporters of terrorism, and you're giving them billions, hundreds of billions of dollars, and you're not getting rid of their nukes, okay? And they're going to say, oh, wait a second, but we got a promise from Iran that they're not going to build nukes. Well, shit,
That's a joke. They've
that's
had
a
that
joke.
fatwa or whatever. They've had that the whole time, and they said that that was so. It's like the people say you can't deal with terrorists versus now we can trust them. I'm just looking. I'm really trying to find good voices that I can like trust for serious like foreign policy because I know I don't know. This isn't really my like forte. So I'm trying to find people I can trust that aren't just partisan hacks, that aren't just cheerleaders, because it's really hard to find some good analysis. It's like
Yeah,
the Mark Levin is like a little bit too over there, and there's like too many MAGA cheerleaders that just Trump's name is on it. It's great, so it's hard to understand what's really happening here. But
it is.
I mean, people like you, Bill, TJ, yeah,
It is.
I
It
defer
is
to you
just.
guys.
It is just so frustrating and so disappointing, especially this stuff you're not even going to share with Israel what the details of it are. Are you kidding me? Well, I'm going to share
I
another
bet you
slide here real
Bibi's
quick.
pissed. Yeah.
Yeah, they are pissed. So I'm gonna read the slide, then we'll chat about it again. Although we've kind of already touched on some of this. Iran is now allowed to immediately sell oil and fuel under the deal, with all banking, transportation, and insurance sanctions waived and taking effect immediately upon Friday's signing. This comes on top of the lifted naval blockade and full Iranian. I want to emphasize this one, and full Iranian authority over the Strait of Hormuz. Um, this goes back to what we're saying. So
So it's
even
confused. Like the
Obama didn't
sanctions
go
were,
that
yeah,
far. Even
yeah,
Obama didn't open up the banking and stuff to them and make sure they can get their insurance on their tankers. Okay, and even Obama didn't say, "Hey, the strait is yours. We'll give up. It's yours." I mean, it just this is the worst deal I can't believe that he even signed this. The only reason that I can think that he might have signed this, and I'd love to get your take on it, I don't think it was for the midterms. I think that Donald Trump saw something economically that was coming down the tracks, the train coming down the tracks, that was going to be so bad that he felt he didn't have a choice but to completely surrender to Iran. That's
you
the
think
only
that?
reason I can come up with. Donald Trump has never cared about the Republican Party. I mean, he
Oh,
blew
so
corn and
it's
now
funny.
doesn't everybody else. I mean, he doesn't care about the Republican Party.
I'm totally with you. And a lot of people are trying to say that. So a lot of people are trying to say, oh, it's the midterms. No, I'm totally with you. I mean, this guy, it's like the bane of their existence that he doesn't give a crap about
Yeah,
like he couldn't care less about how people are going to do in their elections. That's
that's
why he
right.
says I love inflation. It's like they're like, like let me beat my head against the wall. So it's not that. I'm even having a hard time. So you think like for our country, he saw something really bad economically coming?
I think that,
I
and
mean, it's like
probably the world.
maybe, but like what? So he doesn't care about the world because like my whole thing, people were like, we got to choke off the strait or keep the blockade forever, indefinitely. And I was like, okay, guys, aren't you like a little bit concerned about like the rest of the world? Like I mean, it's just not good. So I think it's maybe something with China. I think it's maybe something with these freaking Gulf states that he's cozying up with. I think it's maybe something nefarious because if you remember the Tulsi Gabbard whistleblower thing with Jared
Yeah,
Kushner in Iran. I'm no conspiracy thing, but there's something with Iran and Kushner, Witkoff. I just don't trust any of it. And at this point, I mean, one of my friends who was pro-war, very conservative, voted for Trump, kind of like begrudgingly, but he was like, I think something is compromised. Like, I don't understand this at all. So I'm
I,
kind of
I,
there.
I don't either. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's not a
It
good deal for
doesn't.
the United States. In fact, it's a terrible deal for the United States. It's an even worse deal for Israel. Donald Trump doesn't give a
And he
damn
was
about the
so
European
supportive of
Union.
them, right? He was
Yes,
so supportive of
yes.
Israel at first. So it's like, what the heck is this 180? I mean, he's totally screwing them.
He is. I mean, he threw Netanyahu under the bus, and this is the same Netanyahu that some weeks back gave him the whatever it was, the Israeli award of whatever it is for that's their number one highest
Yeah,
award that you can have civilian award in their
he's
country.
got
Never
like
gave it to an American
95%.
before. Yeah, I mean, it's so
The Israeli
something
support is
just
like
doesn't make sense.
95%, you know?
It
Yeah.
can't, and it can't just be because this made him look so bad and so weak on the world stage, and then to have Vance out there trying to sell it to the public is a joke. I mean, he's the worst seller that
Totally
ever there's
weird.
ever been. So I don't get it. I mean, they've even pissed off Mark Levin. How do you lose Mark Levin? Okay, how do you lose Mark Thiessen? I mean, how do you lose these people? It just doesn't make sense. I hope one day maybe we will learn what it was. The only thing, like I said, that I can guess is that it was something economic that was going to be so bad it would make him look even worse than surrendering to Iran, which is what we basically did. I'm going to read this next slide here because this is something I want to focus on too. The Iran deal includes $300 billion fund for private investment in Iran, more than half of which has already been committed. This is per Reuters. And it says the fund, backed by global investors, is designed to give both sides an economic incentive to conclude a final deal. I'm going to make a point that I said yesterday, and I don't think it came through well, but I'm going to make a point. So if they've already got 100 billion and they've got the 12 billion that we're going to give them, and we've already opened up so they can sell billions of dollars of their oil, okay, plus the banking is open up. That's probably the biggest thing of any of this deal, plus the banking,
When's the last
insurance,
time, by
etc.
the way,
The what
that
now?
they were able to sell so freely? Sorry,
I
like, do you know about?
I don't know of a time. I mean, I think the
It's a
United
long
States
time
has
ago,
had
right? 'Cause I was
sanctions
just
on
trying to
them since
see.
the 70s.
So it's like a
So
huge deal. But yeah,
it
keep
is a
going. So yeah,
huge deal. It is a huge deal. But if you're Iran, what's to keep you? Now, this is they're supposed to have this deal. Remember, the MOU is only supposed to last for 60 days. Then they put something in there that's actually real. Because remember, this is not a deal. The MOU is not a deal. The MOU is a deal to start talking about a deal. Okay, so
mhm.
what's to stop Iran? Day number 59. They call up Hezbollah in Lebanon and they say, go shoot a whole bunch of stuff into Israel. And then Israel, as they should, responds and goes bombs the shit out of Lebanon. And then you get the Houthis across there say, okay, we're going to attack Israel and we're going to close down our strait. And then Iran says, you know what, the United States, you just broke your agreement with us. Israel just broke your agreement. We're going to shut down the Strait of Hormuz. What are you going to do?
And then they're rich. Now they're rich.
They're rich. They've already got the money. What are you going to
That's what I
do?
mean.
Because
It's
they know you're not going
insane.
to do anything militarily. You can't do something military. You'd already have to have the troops and everything over there already lined up. And the
Yeah, are they making
agreement,
us get out, by the way?
yeah, they are. And so the MOU is we have to get our forces out of there too. Well, shit. I mean, the problem with negotiating with kidnappers is
Mhm.
that if you give the money to the kidnappers, and the kidnappers take it as their payoff, and they decide they're not going to release the hostage. But if you do anything to them, they're going to hurt or kill the hostage. What do you do? What do you do? Are you going to let them hurt or kill the hostage? So what happens when the kidnappers come back and say, "All right, you gave us 300 billion that time. We want 400 billion this time, and then we may release them this time. We may
If you're
not
already
cause a pain."
invested, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and what's to cause them from? And that's what Iran has done to us right now. And because of Donald Trump, because
I
he
know.
screwed this up so badly, that's what Iran has us right now. There's nothing to stop them. I mean, what are you going to do? Go bomb them a little bit again? Well, that didn't do shit. So
Well,
I,
yeah,
I
it's like we almost have to completely decimate. So remember when they tried to do this with Gaza? I mean, that's the only thing I can think. I'm like, there was like that weird, oh, let's make Gaza into like, a
oh
casino
yeah,
and, I'm like, are
I
they trying
forgot
to do
about
that with
that.
Iran? Like get these people to invest? That's the only thing I can think of. It's like, okay, is it like a way to get rich? Like, I don't know, because that got shut down pretty quick, right? People were like, shut up. We don't want, we don't
Yeah,
want
it's the
Gaza.
dumbest idea ever. Well, I think somebody
So I
said
don't
it.
know.
It was like I can't remember who said it, but he said this deal is kind of like the Marshall Plan with Germany, but leaving the Nazis in charge. So it's
And
insanity.
giving
This
them a
is not
bunch of
over.
stuff. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
this is not over. This didn't. Not only do they now control the strait, okay, they have tens, if not hundreds, of billions that they're going to put towards building up their missiles and supporting their proxies and so forth. So you've actually substantially not just encouraged them, but you've given them the money to be able to be one of the top
New
world
money.
players. Yeah.
And
So
and they have the power that they didn't even know that they had to choke the global economy. I mean, I'm not kidding. Every single thing of this is worse. Like the MOU, even the JCPOA was at least a binding thing.
yeah,
MOU, like you said, it's a 60-day thing. It can just pop, vanish into thin air. We don't. It seems like this quite literally could not be worse.
yeah.
So
I,
gotta
I,
wonder what the heck. And now all these Gulf states, by the way, side note, I don't really love that they have all these weapons now. You know how we had to ship all like Qatar and the UAE and Saudi's fine, but like Qatar and these other nations now have all these weapons to defend themselves against Iranian missiles and stuff. And I'm like, I'm not really loving the idea of them having all these weapons. It's like really just a
well,
bad
and
for
did
us.
did you read the reporting today? And it might have been yesterday, but I think it was today that Qatar was paying Iran under the table. I think it was billions of dollars to let their freighters out, and they talked the United States into letting their freighters out. So actually, Qatar went behind the United States to give money to Iran so that they could get their freighters out of oil. I
With the
mean,
straight,
once again, this goes back to negotiating with kidnappers. Um,
it's also
it,
embarrassing for us. What the hell? Like these boats were going by in the dead of night, I guess. Like nice.
yeah, yeah. I mean, Donald Trump was sitting there bragging, "Well, we've been taking our destroyers and we've been escorting out, for hundreds of millions of barrels of oil. Nobody knew about it." Well, I bet you part of that was probably Qatar that sat there and paid the
Yeah.
Iranians for it. I mean,
And then it
what
goes
a
back to the
joke!
jet, and it's like, and the Air Force base that we're going to put here in the United States first. I mean, what's up with Qatar? What's up?
But yeah, I mean, they're just so many bad actors, and the problem, well, one of many problems that Donald Trump that I criticized him for at the very beginning of this when he started this, Lauren, was he didn't take the time or bother to get our allies on board, to create a
Exactly.
strategy in place in case they did shut down the strait, to work with the other Middle Eastern countries, even the ones that aren't our allies, to
Or
make
to make
sure
the case to Congress,
or to
or to
make
the
the case.
American people, even just like an address, like Bush, or whatever, just to let us know what's going
Yeah.
on. I mean, he did like a 3-minute thing, but he didn't bother to do
Nobody
any
did
of
that.
that. Yeah.
Even Obama and Bush going back, they did. They made the case. You can agree with it or you can disagree with it for what they did. Okay, and
Yeah.
that's fine. I mean, we can have that discussion. He
They
didn't.
took the time though. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he did. He
They,
didn't even bother. He just up and stuck what was going to be an obvious attack with aircraft carriers and everything out there without thinking what step number two was going to be. I've long said about Donald Trump, strategy for him is the time between a tweet or a golf swing, and that's all he
right.
cares about, right? So
Hmm.
it is an absolute mess. Now I want to end with this slide, and I didn't get a chance to share it yesterday, so I'm going to share it today. So this is with Joe Kent. Joe Kent was number two under Tulsi Gabbard. Interestingly enough, the woman that I was supporting, that's a Democrat. This is the guy that was running against her in Washington '03. So I don't want to say I know him, but none of this of what I'm about to read surprises me. So Joe Kent said yesterday, uh, if the deal involves giving Iran billions of dollars, our best bet is simply to walk away. There could be some truth to that, but I'm going to jump through to the rest of this because I know nobody else is going to see this. And if you want to, audience, if you want to pause this and read through all of his nonsense, that's totally fine. I'm not going to waste breath on it. But here's one of the things that I do want to focus on. He says, uh, quote, at the same time that you shut off Iran, and I'm putting that in parentheses, at the same time, cut off or at the very least reduce military aid to Israel to prevent them from striking Iran and hitting Lebanon. Are you kidding me? I mean, are you kidding me? The far right and the far left have a whole hell of a lot of stuff in common with each other. So you're going to cut
Yeah.
off Israel so they can just get bombed without a response? I mean, does that not strike the hell out of you, Lauren?
That's pretty. I did not see that, and you know, I have to like. I guess I should like admit, like fault. And I think this is because of my age. To be fair, I do think that younger people they don't necessarily understand. I mean, I remember 9/11. I was 5, and but I don't think people necessarily understand how this stuff connects to us. Like, I think it's kind of hard for them to wrap their heads around whatever. So I think Israel in particular, since it's a Middle Eastern country, I think people have a hard time understanding why that's an ally, why we should always support them, why, we give them money,
Mhm.
even though it's really not that much aid. I mean, it's really not in the grand scheme of things. And so I've always been like, are these people just isolationists or are they, is it something deeper than that? And when he says stuff like that, I'm like, what are you even talking about? I mean, in the midst of all this, where everybody, whether you were supportive of the war or not, right, you can kind of understand this makes absolutely no sense. Everybody's like scratching their head, like, what is going on? And he's like, okay, the first part you said, which I kind of, maybe I agree with that part too.
Walk away from it, yeah.
Yeah, he's, I mean, I kind of don't agree, but I can see where he was going. And then I don't know what the middle stuff was. But the end, it's like, how do you get that? How do you get, okay, we need to stop giving them financial aid with the $3 billion. What are you really getting at there? Like, can we not, like, can we focus on the cluster F that this currently is, and rather than that be your main end line of the tweet? So, I mean, with people like Thomas Massey, who I wanted to believe was like a good, constitutionalist, whatever, and now he's totally leaning over there just to make that point. I mean, it's just kind of upsetting to me as a person. I do have to like listen to people more that are like, hey, this is like a red flag. I think you're right. Like the far right, the far left, it's kind of scary. It's really scary actually, and I don't know what to do about it. But
Yeah,
it's
they
my people and younger. It's bad.
well they've got, so as I've said, and I think I've said this to you too, the far left and the far right have more in common with each other than either does with the middle, where you and I sit. And
Yes,
I mean, this is just proof. Bernie Sanders could have said that. And then today, and I know we're out of
I saw your
time.
your point about
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So, and then today, when Donald Trump was talking about, the deal in Iran, and everything else, he's sitting there on national television, bashing Netanyahu and Israel, telling Netanyahu and Israel they'd have already been destroyed and wiped off the planet and wiped off the mat if it hadn't been for Donald Trump. Well, first of all, that's total bullshit. But second of all,
Yeah,
I mean, how do you do that to somebody out on national television and embarrass the poop out of them like that? It just, I have no idea what's going on. I don't understand it. Of course, we don't have all the specifics and the answers of the deal yet because they haven't released it yet. By the way, so we are
mhm.
speculating, and we're speculating because they haven't released it. But
But we're speculating based on what he's saying. I mean, what he's saying is wild. Like, it's wild.
yeah,
Um,
well, and don't forget that JD Vance did go on today, and he was sitting there when they asked him, "Was the $300 billion real?" Yeah, but it's we're not giving them, Iran the money directly. It's going, somebody can invest in blah blah blah. Iran
he's
doesn't
like, they
care
have
where
to
the
stick to the
300 billion
deal.
comes
Like,
from. They don't
yeah,
care. I mean, they would rather it came from the United States just so they can run Donald nose into it, right? So, but they
yeah.
don't care. It'll spin just the same. So,
I don't even know about inspections. I mean, we need to read this freaking thing. Is
yeah,
basically.
and it's not a deal. And again, we're going to end on this. It's not a deal. It's a deal to work towards a different potential deal. It's basically an agreement to keep talking. Well, hell,
And
if I
like you
was
said,
getting
day
hundreds of billions of
59.
dollars, I'd be happy to talk too. So thank you
Yeah.
everybody for joining us tonight. Thanks, Lauren. If you haven't
Yeah. No.
already, please make sure that you subscribe to our channel. If you're watching this right now, it's at YouTube at No Bull Media Group. Again, go to YouTube, No Bull Media Group. And you'll be able to watch this show. You'll be able to watch The Hinge of History, which The Hinge of History is an apolitical show. We just talk about AI, and I'm telling you right now, watch this stuff because this is going to be some of the biggest stuff that's ever happened in mankind with what's going on with AI. So again, it's an apolitical show. And then we've also got Restoring the American Dream, which is going to be starting here in another 30 minutes. And that's more of a deep dive into kind of a 60 minutes type of a show where we deep dive into subjects. And we're going to have a special guest on the Restoring the American Dream. It is a two-time football Super Bowl champion, and a very interesting guy is going to be joining us, and we're going to be discussing Juneteenth, which is Friday. So
Yeah,
again, Lauren, thanks for joining. Thank you everybody for watching. We really appreciate
thank
it.
you.
And as always, we'll see you again tomorrow. Thanks now.
See ya.
Mistro.